making sure it's in alignment with, laws or areas. Again, being cautious of what's in there. And again, if we start to utilize that or utilize it to an extent where we're writing it, saving on COVID and everything else, that it's the better the decisions can be made locally, I think the better we can handle those situations. Again, if that's what's going to be talked about. Thank you.
I think you did a pretty good job of guessing what Mike talked about. So, but yes, we're retaining control, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But we appreciate your comments. We will start the formal part of the meeting with communications from Dr. Ginger.
And we'll start with Mr. Jay Wilhelm and a report on the building project at Homestead High School.
Thank you, Dr. Ginger, members of the board. Again, we have an executive summary handout in front of you. As you can see, this is some progress photos, and then we'll play a video of our drone that we flew here in the last couple days. Couple of comments on the progress photos. You'll see Unit F corridor, which is the main corridor for the students entering from the west. We got finishes starting in that area. Next page, the weight room. We're actually prepping the floor to begin flooring in there. So the finishes are moving quite well there. You'll see the main gym, center scoreboard, backside of the basketball goals are all hung. We're painted out, finished overhead, and then we have the wood, or the gym floor is arriving and being stored on site to acclimate it to the building, preparation for installing it. You'll see a really nice drone video again, a nice view of what's happening in there. Unit C is the band orchestra wing, continuing with block walls and MEP area. The Unit B corridor, which is the main corridor outside of the auditorium, curtain wall is up, and we're enclosed there. Down below phase 3, we have steel decking on the second floor going in, also on the roof, decking overhead, and we have made some second floor pours on the north end of that addition there. And then page 3 is continuation of that two-story addition, decking and structural framing and foundations in units R and Q. So this is the, again, west elevation of the competition gym. The ACM panel is up. So here's the main gym, competition gym. You see the center scoreboard. If you can see, there's a Spartan Head logo on the bottom of it. Nice graphic there to show our pride in our Spartan. Everything's painted out, as I said, overhead. Basketball goals are up, as you can see there, and they are functioning. This is the main corridor past the gym. As you can see, finishes, drywall going up. Again, this area we're planning to have open for the start of school in August. This is the auxiliary gym, under roof now, and MEP going in overhead there. Again, the band and orchestra wing, mezzanine deck and block continuing there with MEP also. Auditorium, these are the concrete risers that are being formed and poured. Those are where obviously where the seats will go, opposite the stage. Again, the main corridor outside the auditorium, full height curtain wall and glass is up and closed, and you'll start seeing some finishes happening in there. This is the overhead fly around that we always do from west, south, and east. Again, this is the west elevation of the main gym. Where that truck is will be the F corridor entrance for the students in the fall. This is the south elevation of the Arts Center, our Performing Arts wing. Again, the band orchestra to the west there. Lots of block interior going up, block walls, and then as you can see, we're staging to start setting the block on the exterior to close the building on that end. This is the east addition, two-story addition, what we call phase 3. Again, landing, Steve Steele continuing there. Second floor deck, roof deck, all being set. The clear story, the penthouse area is being set. And then as you come around the north end, you'll see a pump truck there. That day we were pouring the second floor in what we call is the T unit there, or actually U. This is the end down here, unit U. And just another pan view or shot of that corner of the two-story addition, so phase 3. Quick comment on schedule. Again, we're going to have that F corridor, main student entrance, and the bus lot in for start of school in August. Competition gym will be ready for basketball in October, and then we're continuing to finish around the performing arts areas to the what we call Unit A, which is where the auditorium is. So we'll continue to flow that way with our progress and finishes. So, any questions?
I've been asked to ask, will parking be worse or better this fall?
Same. So, where the bus lot, right now next to the Cleve building to the north, we have 180 spaces paved there. We're gonna tear down the south wing of the freshman academy, starting at the end of the month. We're gonna pave that, which will become a new bus lot. So, it'll be about the same as last year, actually, so, I mean, I don't know if that's the right answer or not, but we're doing the best we can, so. It's gonna be painful for a little bit more time, that's, continues to be a challenge. As you were talking earlier, I mean, I know everybody's seeing that in the business now. Supply chain, escalation. I mean, you're seeing what's happening with inflation, gas, diesel fuel, anything that's oil-based, continues to be a challenge in our industry.
How about labor availability?
Labor's not bad. We had our struggles earlier this year. I think some of the projects winding down in the area, I mean, we seem to be picking up on labor. We got some good subs that have a lot of resources, and including ourselves, that we have a pool of labor that we can draw from. But I won't say that it's abundant. I mean, it's stretched, but it's better than it was. So hopefully we can continue with that. The supply chain, I think, is going to be a continued challenge along with escalation. So we'll do the best we can to control both. So that just requires us to do a lot more planning earlier than what we used to. So our whole delivery process is different now, and it has to be, starting with earlier discussions and phasing and what resources are available. So it takes a lot more planning than it used to. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Wilhelm. Three more pieces of communication for the board. Congratulations to the student at Woodside Middle School. The We the People team is flourishing under teacher Andrew Half's direction 2 weeks ago. The Warriors We the People team competed against 13 other schools from across the country. The teams presented and answered challenging follow-up questions on topics related to citizenship and the U.S. Constitution. Woodside ranked first in the Northeast Indiana District and 6th in the nation. Congratulations to those students. Also from Woodside, the Warriors Student Council donated $2,000 to Special Olympics of Allen County. This money was raised through various fundraisers under the direction of Jenny Ryan and Rod Parker, 6th grade teachers. So thank you to the Warriors for that one. And then lastly, the Homestead Band is a recipient of the Indiana State Music Association All Music Award for the 2021-2022 school year. ISMA will be presenting the band a special banner, you may have seen those before, to display in recognition for these outstanding achievements. So congratulations all.
Thank you for that report. Just a note about the pictures that we have. It's not near as good as the video, so you're not missing much, but not how it goes. Next up is our consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of the May 3rd, 2022 meeting, bills, claims, payroll, and accounts, and personnel recommendations. Were there any changes to the report?
Yes, you have a hard copy.
Hard
right?
copy.
Yes.
I saw that. Any comments from the board? Hearing none, we will accept the consent agenda as amended. Second item on the agenda is a report from parents regarding success at Homestead High School. This is George, John, and Monica Wiltz are presenting this evening.
So my name is Monica Willits, and my son Matthew Willits actually spoke to the board 2 years ago. So I don't know, I think some of you might remember him when I start talking, but so he graduated in 2020 during COVID, and he ended up going to the University of Alabama on a full ride academic scholarship. So he had 64 credits going into Alabama, which a lot of what people don't tell you about extra credits is, even though it didn't necessarily help him towards his mechanical engineering degree, what it did help him with is actually getting tickets to the football game when you go to University of Alabama. That's kind of a big thing. So, and it also helped him be able to register for classes faster. And the other thing that was really cool is right after he registered, he actually had the University of Alabama call him, and they said, we've looked at all your credits and you're only a couple classes away from getting a history minor. So he already has a minor in history. So, but the reason I'm here to talk to you today is this might jog a bell if you remember Matt. When he was a sophomore, he came to my husband and I and said he wanted to take classes at ANTHUS for his machining certification because he was really into combat robotics and he wanted to learn how to machine. And we were dead set against it. We just thought ANTHUS was more for kids who didn't have the college agenda, and we wanted him to take more honors classes and put his focus into more classes at Homestead. And the thought of him only being here half day and going over there was terrifying. And Dr. Ginder called my husband and I and said, come sit, and I'll never forget sitting in his office and having him look me in the eye and said, you have a kid who thinks outside the box. This is amazing, let him do it, just let him do it. And I left there thinking, that's so cool that he has an advocate for him. I'll never forget it. So he did that. So he went over, and mind you, this is a child who only had his driver's license a couple weeks, and now I'm sending him clear across town. So as a mom, I was even more terrified of that. And and we get to the end of the program, and COVID happened, and it was really hard for him to finish the program. Just getting into the lab to finish the stuff was really hard. And towards the end, he almost gave up because he's just like, I'm already going to University of Alabama. I don't see how this is going to help me. And we're like, you have so much into it, just don't give up. So fast forward to why I'm here to tell you the update on him. So he goes to the University of Alabama and is doing these engineering classes, and they have a co-op program there, which is amazing. Like they have all these 70 amazing companies come in, and the kids interview. They pick who they want. I say kids, but obviously he's a young man now. They pick who they want to interview with, and the co-op program says, okay, we're going to let you know that you're probably going to be lucky to get 1 or 2 companies that want you. And he does 11 interviews from 8 o'clock in the morning until 3:30 at night, or 3:30 in the afternoon, a half-hour interview for each one. And his #1 choice is Mercedes. That's who he really wanted. There was Michelin, Nucor, all these amazing companies there. And so every interview he had lasted the full half hour. They basically had to end the interview. And all they wanted to talk to him about was his machining experience. How cool is that? And he got offers from all 11 companies, including Mercedes, but the kicker was Nucor is who really wanted him. And they came to him and they said, you don't understand, you're the future of engineering. This is why we want you to come to our company. We have been trying to encourage all of our engineers to learn welding, to learn fabrication. We want you to come here, we want you to do these things, and we want you to teach that to everybody else. And the funny thing is, the reason our son has a full ride scholarship for the University of Alabama is he got a 36 on his ACTs. I don't know if any of you remember him talking to you, but you'd think that it would be a standout at Alabama, but over 30% of the National Merit Scholars go to University of Alabama. It wasn't even on his radar until Amy Hamilton told him about Alabama. And so even in his co-op program that he's at with Nucor right now, he's surrounded with another kid that got a 36 and all these other kids that are for National Merit Scholars. So people think University of Alabama is just a football school, and it's really not. So, I just wanted to let you all know that his choices he made as a sophomore in high school that we didn't support until Park Gander was on his side and encouraged us, has completely changed his life and make it open doors for him. But the other thing I want to share with you is he literally said the interview process was so simple because of all the things like talking to the school board 2 years ago, gave him the experience to go in there with confidence and be able to do it. So even him coming to speak to you has really influenced who he's become. So that's my update on that. I don't know if any of you remember him or not, but that is what he's doing now. And he would be here, but New Core said he wasn't supposed to start till the fall with his internship or co-op. And they said, we actually want you to start as soon as school's out. So he actually started on Monday. He's already designed a few things, and he's actually teaching his boss how to use the program. So he's really, really happy. So thank you all. I guess if you have questions, I don't know if you...
Roll Tide?
Yeah, roll tide. I didn't say that. He told me to yell that, and I totally forgot. Thank you.
Mr. John, go ahead.
Hi, my name is George. We came to Fort Wayne 10 years ago, and we stumbled our way to Homestead High School. And we went through and I'm here to talk about how great a program, the dual credit program, and the AP classes that Homestead offers. And we took really advantage of it. We didn't know much about it until the school counselors helped us a lot, especially Ms. Lackland. And they explained to us the advantages of it. And both my kids were set to go to regular colleges here. And we really took advantage of that, and I'm really happy that we did that. I will let my children talk.
Hi, I'm Dia. I'm a senior. I'm going to my senior year at Purdue. I'm in industrial engineering, and I graduated Homestead about over 60-ish dual credit courses. So with that, I was able. So engineering at Purdue, you do your first year is general engineering. You do all the same courses as your peers. But moving on from that, after I chose industrial engineering, my friends also have to do their English courses, their Spanish courses, their French courses, and so on and so forth. Whereas I have extra room in my schedule now to focus on my engineering courses. I can take like lighter workloads each semester and focus on just the courses that I have to do because I took so many dual credits here at Homestead. And I'm able to like keep moving forward. I'm able to graduate on time still. I'm just able to spend more time in my classes. Those dual credits also taught me how to learn. Those being college-based courses from like taking that many in high school just prepped me for that workload. I know this wasn't a dual credit, but in AP Physics course I took here with Mr. Lemfesti, he went to Purdue, so he teaches the same way that Purdue Physics teaches, so I was familiar with the classroom environment and things like that. So yeah, being a senior at Purdue, I am still like reaping the benefits from the dual credit program at Homestead, and definitely being able to spend more time on engineering courses is something I really appreciate. So yeah.
Senior year, how many you've been at school? How many years have you guys been on campus? 4. I thought you had accelerated, so that's why I asked. Okay. Greg?
Don't feel bad that you didn't though.
No.
You're doing great.
Hi, I'm Ethan. I'm a senior at Homestead right now, actually. And so I've been accepted to go to University of Evansville for college this year. And so my ultimate path is to go to med school. They have a med program, which is my reason for going there. And so I've taken 13 AP courses here and I think 5 dual credits. And those just, I had them tailored to work med paths I've always wanted to go to. And these courses help me get a lot of my courses out of the way
Mrs. Willits and the Johns, and then of course Mrs. Bloom to come, are a continuation of what we tried to do all school year, K through 12, to show the community and the board, you're generally aware of all of these things, but to let people know what's happening in our elementaries and middle schools and our high school, because we do have some truly fantastic programs, and this is just a continuation of that. So thank you to both of you very much. Thank you.
You are free to go if you want. You can stay. It's up to you. Next up is the report on senior experience with Mrs. Simmers.
Well, this is my absolute favorite topic to talk about. So if I go too long, just give me the sign and tell me to move on. And the reason for that is just because of the story I've heard. The opportunity for Homestead students to have a collegiate experience while they're at home and can have the support of their families, and are at Homestead and can have the support of their teachers and counselors, goes on to give them remarkable opportunities once they leave us. So tonight I'd like to talk about the senior experience, but to start, just a real quick overview of the collegiate opportunities at Homestead. So we have 3 ways that students can have that experience. The first is through the Advanced Placement Program, the second is through our dual credit program, and then the unique opportunity the senior experience provides. The reason our students are able and ready when they come to us in 9th grade to begin taking these kinds of courses are all of the honors courses and advanced academic opportunities that exist from the very first time they enter a school in our district. And so they come to us ready and excited to take advantage of these opportunities. For those that aren't familiar, the Advanced Placement Program is actually created at college. We receive college credit by taking an exam in May. Most of the 4-year colleges and universities in the United States grant college credit if you achieve a certain level of score on their exams. In fact, over 3,000 institutions nationwide take AP scores. Most of the exams are at least 2 hours. I used to teach AP Economics, and the students would take 2.5 hours of micro, have a pizza break, and take 2.5 hours of macro, if you can imagine that. And through that hard work and dedication, if they score a 3 or better, then they are awarded college credit by the university that they are going to. Here's the list of AP courses that are offered at Homestead, including our new edition, Spanish Language and Culture, which is coming next year. And you can tell from this list, there's something for everyone. No matter what your main interest is, you can find an AP course probably that fits that. Here's an example of how scores are used by universities. Every university gets to make their own decisions. So I think biology at IU is a great example. If you score 3, you get their Bio 104. If you score 4, you get Bio 112. And then if you get the perfect score of 5, you actually get 6 college credits. So each college can determine what they will do based on your score. Here's another example of Purdue. Purdue, with their pride in engineering, they'll look at your physics score if it's a 5, and they will give you some credit on that. And then Spanish, again, is another example of the higher you score, the more credits you can get. We just completed our May exams. 535 Spartans took the AP exams. They took 935 total exams. And those scores will be sent to us in July, early July. So just for you, I included our 2021 scores. So you can see how Homestead does in comparison to the state and globally. And we can be very proud of the education our students receive in the classroom, how hard our teachers work, and especially how hard our students work to do well on those exams. Dual credit courses are exactly what it sounds like. You get 2 different kinds of credit by completing the course. As long as you get a C- or higher, then that credit that you earn transfers to every public institution in the state of Indiana by law as the course you took. So if you get a B in Econ 101, that goes on your college transcripts. The grades don't go. So for the student that leaves Homestead with a 4.0 in all their dual credit classes, they're very sad to hear that. For the student that took the risk and took the challenge and got their C's in dual credit, they're thrilled because the credits are there and not the grades. Although it's law for public institutions, we have found, as you heard tonight, private schools and out-of-state schools are just as we look at our dual credit, and in part that is because Homestead reputation really is nationwide, and they know the level of academic intensity that these students have been in to earn credits in these courses. When you look at the PowerPoint, you'll be able to click on a list of our dual credit classes. The number we offer is close to 60, so I couldn't fit that on the screen. But again, it's in almost every area. Anything a student would be interested in, they can push themselves, challenge themselves to take a dual credit course. Our partnerships are with Ivy Tech, IU, and Purdue University. So to give you this year's numbers, you can see in the fall, oh, and there's an error I didn't catch. The second column is spring, sorry about that, of 2022. So the 20 students were in dual credit and how many credits they got in the fall, and the second is our spring, that's gonna throw me off the rest of the second column there. In fact, I'm trying to not run over there and change it right now. The second column is the spring numbers. That is impressive when you look at it. So it's 10,000 plus credits from Ivy Tech, 2,000 credits from IU, 300 credits from Purdue. But this next spring to me is what's really impressive. Let's put that in dollar amounts. At Ivy Tech, which is the most inexpensive place that you can attend of our partners, if you take how much they would pay on campus, it's $1.5 million. Those credits are transferable to every public institution. So if you think in terms of IU and Purdue numbers, we're talking over $3 million worth of dual credit. At IU, $500,000, PFW, $100,000. That's total tuition savings for our families just this year of over $2 million. Almost $4 million if they take it to other institutions other than Ivy Tech. That, as a family, would really excite our family, and I'm sure many of our families feel that same way. A student that chooses wisely, as you've heard tonight, can get their entire general ed courses done, that finish their freshman year, maybe even finish their sophomore year. So you're talking about a 25% scholarship, basically, just by choosing your classes wisely at Homestead. This is possible because we have amazing teachers at Homestead. We have over 53 teachers that are credentialed as adjunct professors through these universities. That's taken their personal time, their personal energy, and in some cases their own money, because they have to have a certain level of scholarship, a certain number of graduate courses on their transcript to be able to teach these courses. And so if you know a dual credit teacher, thank them, because they really are showing a dedication and a level of interest in the student's success by their taking part in this. So that gets us to the senior experience. Seniors who qualify can enroll in courses at Homestead that replicate the college experience. They have Monday, Wednesday classes. They have Tuesday, Thursday classes. They may have a gap in their schedule between early in the morning and later in the day. So they really start to get the feel for what it's like to go to college. The classes meet twice a week for 90 minutes. And then on Fridays, our instructors are all free to offer office hours to the students. Anyone in this room that has had students go away to college have found that they've been reluctant or shy to take advantage of office hours. That's a challenging thing, to go talk to someone who is an adult, who's an expert in their field, and ask for help. So this is a key part of the senior experience, to really help the students, walk them through what good can come of seeking the help of your professor. The senior experience to help students learn time management skills. We, every few years, survey our students who have left to college and were in the senior experience. This is the first thing that comes up in almost every response to that survey. We were so far ahead of our peers in understanding how to balance our time and to get the work done, that when the syllabus came out and it said we had to have the book read by midterms, we had seen that before, we had done that before, and we were able to work that out in our head, how we could get that done, while those around us were having problems with that. It helps teach them independent goal setting. It gives them a work ethic, a level of work ethic and personal motivation, because you have to really plan how to be successful when you're taking courses that way. And also, because we strongly encourage the students to work with the teachers, it teaches them a level of self-advocacy. They don't go home, well, they probably do go home occasionally and complain about a grade or something that's happened, but we really help them, when you have a question, come to the teacher, and that's so valuable when you go to a and need to be able to do that as a young adult. So here are our senior experience numbers. In the fall, we had 1,482 college credits earned by students in the senior experience. 1,563 this spring, so a total of over 3,000 college credits earned in a true collegiate way. The last thing I want to leave you with is what's most important to me, and that is that the collegiate courses at Homestead fit many different post-secondary plans. You usually think of that as, well, that's the student that's going on to a four-year college. And indeed, it works very well for those students. You can get your general ed courses out of the way for free, so that when you get to campus, not only do you get better parking and free pick to your dorm room, but you get to advance to what you're going to college to do, the courses of your major. As you heard tonight, our record is 64 college credits. The young lady that spoke earlier tonight went to Purdue with that, and that was a combination of dual credit and AP, which is an amazing thing that she can be proud of. But it works well for students that are considering associate degrees and certifications too. So English 111, which is college count, or speech, or our quantitative reasoning course, those all show up on the two-year degree programs at Ivy Tech. And in some cases, the certification programs. The AMPUS programs also offer dual credit. So it works for those students too. And finally, the students that are headed to the military, we strongly encourage them to take our dual credit courses, because if you can get half of an associate's degree done, you go in as an E2, you go up a rank higher than someone just with a high school diploma. If you can get that associate's degree done, which is doable, you actually go in 2 ranks higher. It's a significant increase in pay, as well as can have an impact if you stay in the military. You go in ahead, you will stay ahead every time promotions come around. So dual credit, AP, the honors classes that help you to prepare for those levels of rigor, that really is something that all students should consider, because it has a huge payoff no matter what your post-secondary plans are.
Anybody?
Real quick, my hat's off to you, that's phenomenal. I guess if you look around the state, you say, okay, if we put Carmel over here, you say, okay, if we compare Homestead to the other big high schools, 60 dual credit, how does that come? We right up?
I've not yet seen any school in the nation that has as many as we do, and I've looked and looked. And we even have a couple of courses that no one has. We have a college level Homeland Security course we're definitely the only high school in the country that offers that for college credit, just by chance, because we have a teacher that is retired from the Coast Guard and had a master's in Homeland Security. So Ivy Tech worked with us, and they've never offered it before, but they said, you have an expert in the field, of course, we will work with you on that. So we have great things like that happening.
I heard this statistic a year or two ago, and that Homestead students received 1 year 20% of the dual credit courses that were received in the entire state. Is that correct?
That's probably accurate.
That's amazing. So, and Dr. Ginder was principal at the time. I gave him credit for that, but he said, no, it was you that did that.
Well, the only reason I did it is because he came to me and said, we've got a few dual credit classes. Can you see what else we might be able to provide to our students? And the only reason you see those numbers, we have a long history in this district of searching out the best teachers that we can hire. And that sometimes costs a little bit more, and sometimes it takes a lot of patience to find them. But when we opened up our drawers full of teacher transcripts, we found gems like the Homeland Security masters, teachers that had gone to school to get a master's in the content area, not just a general master's, and teachers who were willing to, when they saw the opportunity, go back to school and get that master's degree so we could do that. So really, we have the teachers submit for this opportunity.
Thank you for doing a great job.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. I need to ask forgiveness to call an audible on the schedule. Miss Bennett needs to leave to go see her son perform. So she's done a lot of work on item number 9 on the agenda, which is the discussion of the recommendation to hire ISBA for comprehensive policy management. This is a discussion item. Are you leading the discussion, Dr.
I am. So in your packet, your documents related to the recommendation to hire ISBA, the Indiana State School Boards Association for Policy Management. And what that is a help to local schools and school boards. If you remember in the fall, we were updating a number of policies kind of on the fly. This would not change that. What it would do is quarterly, we would receive updates, legislative updates, and other help in us creating our own appropriate policies. This is not the same thing as Neola. So if you're familiar with Neola as a shorthand, Neola supplies basically completed school board policies to a number of districts in the state. That's not something I'm interested in. We'd end up with a policy book that's 2 or 3 times as thick, and many of them wouldn't have anything to do with our local culture. What the attorneys at the ISBA already do when we create the policies that we've done this year, we run those by our own attorney. We also have Lisa Tansel look at those, or her partner Julie Slavens, and they can give us some other eyes on the prize. To date, the things that we've done have been fine, have been right down the appropriate alley. What this would do is give us a heads up that when something's coming. I think in conjunction with our lobbyists that we work with, we have a pretty good handle on when legislation is going to change some things, but this would help, and they would also go through our documents, even the existing ones, looking for errors and things. Now, they won't always find the errors like we just fixed a week or 3 ago, where we had something in our, they wouldn't know when something is an error on our side, but they might find something legally otherwise. So what I'm asking for would not be the full meal deal, as my kids would have used to say, but rather just the $600 a year that would give us the quarterly input. We don't need the rest of their help. At least that's what I think.
You have any comments, Jen?
I think it's $700 a year. It's $600 extra if you don't have board docs. It's the price difference.
I'll have to check, because my notes say that it's a $600 rate and not the entire program, so I can call Ms. Slavens and get that.
But it's still, it's so reasonable to have that extra eyes on hand.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've worked with Lisa for probably 20 years in Indiana. Vince, I think your comments right out, we still have local ability by all means, but I think it's that extra set of eyes up front to help give us guidance.
Other comments? Okay, this was a discussion item, and we will take it up in 2 weeks at our next meeting. Thank you, Ms. Bennett, for sticking around for that. Thank you for your consideration on moving the schedule. Next up is a report on the Homestead High School Mentor Program, and this is Gail Bloom and some of her students.
having us. It's always a nice opportunity to come and talk to the board about the Alpha Mentorship Program. I know we haven't been back in a couple of years because of the COVID situation, unfortunately, and our students could not go into businesses and take advantage of some of these options. I don't know if you can hear me okay. But for those of you who are new to the board, you might not know what the Alpha Mentorship Program is. In the 1980s, Southwest Allen County was a lighthouse school district for the gifted and talented. And because we were a lighthouse district, we had an opportunity to not only have our Alpha classes, which you're very familiar with, but we also had an option for seniors in high school to do a mentorship opportunity as an independent study out in the community in a career area or profession of the choice that they might be interested in. And so we've been doing this for about 20 years. You only have about 4, 5, 6, 7 students a year, depending upon how many students have that interest, have time in the schedule to do something outside the school day. And it requires 40 hours. It requires a challenging project. It really, if you really want to focus on what it is, it's like having an internship when you're in your major in a junior in college. So you're actually doing something that incredible in the field of medicine, law, science, engineering, art, music. It can be business, financial, in a financial institution. So the students have done programs or mentorships in all areas over the 20 years. They've had amazing projects because they're doing something in real time to help that particular profession in research of something maybe cutting edge or new research in order for them to follow up on some things that they may have had an interest in doing but haven't had the opportunity to do the research. And the actual product or project is something in real time that is challenging to them. So it's almost like a science fair project. You have an hypothesis, you carry it, you research, and you draw conclusions. So you're using critical thinking skills, you're using analytic skills, and so it is it's a very challenging opportunity, and that is why these students can use this program as one more way to distinguish them from their AP scores, their grades, their class rank, etc., and SATs. And that's exactly what they do when they submit this project to and on their college applications. So I have 4 of them this year, and I will introduce each one to you. She will tell you a little bit about what she experienced and what the impact it had on her as part of being able to have this wonderful program. Many gifted and talented schools in Indiana do not have this particular program and haven't. I mean, we keep trying to find them throughout the years, but then when the students go into colleges, they find out that there aren't other students who have had experiences like this. But we have lots of things going on at Homestead that they can do, but this is one for the gifted. The first student I'd like to introduce is Tori Berg, and she is going to Purdue University.
Hi, my name is Tori Berkey. I'm a senior here at Homestead, and I did the Alpha Mentorship. Overall, I feel like this experience was really beneficial because during my experience, I had the chance to intern with a local orthodontist office. I mentored at Parish Orthodontics with Dr. Kate Welch, and her husband's actually a teacher here. So I did it over the summer, and I did about 8 hours a week for 5 weeks over the summer, which led to my combined total of 40 hours mentoring with her. I feel like this experience was extremely unique because unlike interns, I had the opportunity to also do some stuff around the office rather than just shadow and watch what she was doing. So some of my jobs was like, I compiled research for my project, which I then informed her about it. And furthermore, I also practiced using an iTero scanner, which my project was about a intraoral scanner. And so I focused on the new cutting edge technology in the orthodontic field. And so basically for my project, I compiled research about it. I found the cost differences, comparisons, and the benefits with it. And then I presented this information to the orthodontist office, and I tried to basically convince them to implement this new technology. And it was successful. So they're planning on hopefully raising money to be able to implement this new technology. So along with that, I also did various things such as just helping the assistants, as well as cutting power chains, or I would help work in the lab upstairs, and just various things like that where it was really beneficial because I was able to kind of see what it actually was like. And also I was able to notice that this actually was something that I wanted to do. When I first started with the Alpha Mentorship, you know, Mrs. Bloom told me that it was a good opportunity to see if actually this is the career that I want to go into. And I feel like this opportunity really led me to realize that yes, this is something I want to do. And I definitely wanted to know that beforehand because it's a lot of schooling to be an orthodontist, and I didn't want to go through all the schooling and then not enjoy it. But the mentorship definitely made me realize that not only do I like what she does as an orthodontist, but also I really enjoy the research opportunity. And at Purdue University, I was offered a STAMP scholarship, which is a full ride, and also I get $10,000 extra for an enrichment fund. And I'm hoping to use that money to do a research project, and I'm hoping to also do an internship. And with that money, I can do an unpaid internship, but then get wages so that I can continue to live on off campus my sophomore or junior year, while also doing this internship to continue my love for research, which I noticed through this experience. So overall, it was a great experience and we recommend it to students. Thank you.
Hey, Tori. There's Matthew Mills.
Yeah.
I used to watch Tori run around Orchard Ridge some summers. It's great that you are gonna, that you like it, because we've had kids come up here and say, I did this and I didn't like it. So it was a valuable experience for them to realize that it wasn't what they wanted. But I'm glad you want to do this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Our next student is also going to Purdue University, and Sophia Ocado.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I hope to in aerospace engineering at Purdue, and I interned at Essex Furukawa, a company that produces magnet wire that goes into electric motors, most notably electric. So what I did was I worked in the analytical lab under my mentor David Gang, and so I worked to classify the properties of various materials for the enamel coating that goes on the wire. And one of the things I did was I worked with the GPC instrument that stands for gel permeation chromatography, and it is a $110,000 instrument that I was trusted with. About yay big. And so it uses a whole bunch of things that I did not understand at the time to measure the molecular weight of molecules suspended in the enamel. So for this internship, I had these samples. I was given specific samples to find the molecular weight of, but unfortunately we figured out by the end of the internship that it just wasn't possible with the materials we had at the time. We didn't have the right solvent to make any results show in the spectroscopy. But I did get to learn a lot through this experience about chemistry and such. So the main principles that the GPC is built upon is chromatography and spectroscopy. And I had no clue what those were going in, but then I learned about them in AP Chemistry this year. So that was really cool to be able to make those connections and see how they apply, not just, well, I'll learn about this and move on. And this mentorship has also been a great asset when I'm applying to scholarship job interviews and such because I've had this experience. And so I highly recommend this experience of being able to get out, get a mentorship, and do something really cool.
Those solids, or did you have to break down a solid?
So the enamel coating is consisted of a polymer suspended in a solid with the molecular weight of the polymer. Jargon.
This was for the EV.
Yeah, yeah. Many other things, but most notably electric vehicles, like Tesla, Ford, etc.
Awesome. Nice vocabulary.
And now we have a person not going to Purdue, she's going to Wake Forest University, and it's Anna Taco.
Hi, I'm Anna. So I did my mentorship at the, sorry. I did my mentorship at the Parkview Mira Center for Research and Innovation to educate surge techs and registered nurses on, they have these things called they have these like standards they have to know before they go into the OR, and they have to keep redoing them every couple of years just so they're up to date on their medical information. And so the one I did was over malignant hypothermia, which is a complication that can happen in surgery. It's kind of like an allergic reaction to the anesthesia. So we put together some puzzles, and we did that like kind of in the office, and then we went into the OR, and the surge techs and the RNs would actually run the simulation and figure out what was going on, make a diagnosis, and get the crash cart. It's this MH cart. Not a whole lot of people like knew where this cart was, so it was obviously something that definitely like the education like needs to be continuing. And so that actually got a lot of positive feedback. Like people said that they really kind of couldn't remember what they needed to do in that situation. It is a rare situation, but it can be super life-threatening if you don't know what you're doing. And so that actually got taken to some panels, and some more other hospitals are kind of incorporating this more hands-on learning. Other ones that happened were a fire in the OR was another escape room. So what to do when your OR catches on fire, because things can catch on fire if you're cauterizing things, and not super great. Some other things I did was I worked with this safe sleep simulation kit, which was to help prevent SIDS, just like sudden infant death, sudden unexpected death, which is called SUID. And thankfully, with more education, that's been kind of on decline. But Parkview put together this program that is basically a model of 3D printed baby. Baby's a little scary looking, but it gets the job done. And so it's like this simulation in this model, and it's connected to an iPad. And in different positions of this model, you can see like O2 saturation in the baby. And it's really just to demonstrate like the best way for the baby to sleep is on their back in that supine position instead of like on their side, on their stomach. And so I helped put together a survey that kind of about instructor feedback from like people who were giving this information to caregivers, and we were able to kind of take that into consideration as Parkview was looking to expand this project. And then my last thing, my most favorite thing that I did was OR observation. I got to see a couple really cool surgeries, and I want to go into surgery when I eventually graduate med school and go into residency. I saw an open heart surgery, which was fantastic. Like, it's so kind of just like, it takes your breath away. Just seeing that. It's just like a Whipple case, which is with your taking out part of your pancreas and your gallbladder and attaching your small intestine. It's to kind of help with pancreatic cancer. And I also saw an orthopedic case, and all of these were just like so incredible. And I felt so lucky to be able to get in the OR, especially just in kind of COVID times. And I think one of my main takeaways from mentorship, besides professionals in a lot of different branches of medicine, and I really feel like that helped me grow as a person too. And yeah, just enjoy my experience.
Talk to me, Dr. Beer, how did he let you go to Wake Forest?
Very fun for that.
Hello, I'm Kevin. I'm going to Purdue University Fort Wayne and I'm studying engineering. So I basically worked with an AutoCAD software called SolidWorks. That was one of basically the main things that I had to learn through the mentorship, and so I started sometime in June, and at first it was 3 hours each day, and then it turned into 2 hours each day, 5 days a week, and I basically I learned new things, just like I went to the labs and there were different departments where I could see what exactly they were doing with the wires. And my mentor was Harpreet Singh. This was at Fort Wayne Metals, and basically I remember some of the things where we would just talk to like different companies, and we would just, in the conferences, we would talk about the diameter, the inner diameter, and the outer diameter, what they wanted their wires to look like, and different design components, which I hadn't thought of it. I didn't think it would be that specific project. And later on, he said it would be better if I had focused on CAD software and modeling. And I had seen on his resume like all these different SolidWorks certifications, and that's why he wanted me to get started with it, because it's really something that companies like to see. So because he learned this in college, he had a SolidWorks class. I obviously didn't, but when I downloaded the software and they had their own little section where they had different lessons, different things that you could build. Like I remember learning about how like there were like different hammer components, for example, that we designed and then we put it together, we assembled it, and so it was also really nice seeing how that would come together with what people wanted in their products, like basically different catheters, and there was like this machinery that was associated with a ball and socket joint, for example. It was just really cool to see how this component that I had built in SolidWorks, how that would contribute to actually something that would go inside the body. But yeah, I really enjoyed my experience with Alpha Mentorship, and I'm really glad I did it, because definitely for someone to see that I have certification and something that usually an employee would have or someone right out of college, it's something that I take a lot of pride in. And so, yeah, I mean, I also mentioned it in some of my scholarship essays, and I feel like this was probably one of the reasons why I got like highest scholarship, considering like Loyola, I got the presidential scholarship, and then an Edwards scholarship at Anderson. I'm just really glad, because maybe if I hadn't had Alpha Mentorship, they wouldn't see that I had that hands-on experience at a different company, seeing what they want to see, and basically just having experience with software. Didn't think I'd ever get that, but yeah, I'm glad.
That's wonderful.
Great communication skills too.
You looked awful nervous over here, but as soon as you got up, your smile came on. That's great.
Yeah, all of you young ladies are smiling a lot more than you were at the beginning of the meeting. Great job.
Again, for offering the opportunity to these students, and as you can see, they're focused, they're responsible, and it makes us proud when they go out to the community and engage in different businesses with their experience at Homestead and outside. So thank you very much.
And thank you to you, because without you, our connections would be smaller and we wouldn't have these kids doing this. So this is awesome, 20 years of commitment on your part.
All right, next up is is the report on Homestead High School additions and renovations budget with Mr. Schneider.
Thank you. I wasn't planning on making a recommendation, but can we move these away from these young ladies so I don't seem as foolish? Or as boring? So, high school edition, I'll kind of combine the two reports for March and April. In March, we expended $787,113. We had some issues with billing, so it was a very light month from what you would have been accustomed to seeing, but that means April was a little heavier than we would be used to seeing. So in April, we expended $6,702,560.02. Expenditures through the end of April are up to $66,037,547.11, and that's 39.08% of the $169 million original budget. We've received in $193,487.25 in interest and dividends year to date, or not year to date, but since the inception of the project. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for that report. We're keeping you on the stage with the March and April 2022 Education and Operations Funds financial report.
I'll pretty much just cover April, if that's okay, just because they add on top of one another. At the end of April, we had a cash balance in the education fund of $4,836,518.91. That's 9.75% of our approved budget for 2022, and 13.23% when we add in rainy day as well. Last year at this point, we were at 7.82% and 11.49%. So we're definitely trending a little bit in the right direction. Revenues through the end of April, 33.43% of annual projections. We're a third of the way through 2022, so you'd expect to be right around 33.33%. So we're trending well there. Same thing with expenditures. We've expended about 32.76% of our annual budget. Last year we were at 31.42%. That's a little higher. I'd like that to be a little less, but summer usually we have a little less in expenditures because most of education fund, as you are aware, salary and benefits, we have some people that don't work that are just 9-month employees, so our expenditures dip a little bit during the summer. So I'm not concerned at this point that we'll need any additional appropriations. May change my mind in 3 or 4 months though. Cash balance operations fund, $5,741,087.66. That's 26.49% of our 2022 budget. Last year we were at 27.5%. Revenue, if you remember, the way operations work, most of our revenue in operations comes in May and June, and then again in November and December because that's property tax funded. So it starts high and then it goes down for 4 to 6 months, and then it goes back up and then it goes back down. Expenditures, we're at 26.88% of our 2022 budget. Last year we were at 24.35%. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
This is on the fly, but is there any benefit to moving some money over into the rainy day fund? Does having it in rainy day give us more flexibility later on where it goes, or is it still restricted as to where we can use it?
We could really move it at any point during rainy day. It does provide some flexibility, but I would also say we're trying to hit some projects across the district that only can be expended out of operations fund. At some point, I may come to you or the board may request that we transfer, because that's a decent cash balance. You know, you really want to look maybe at a June 30 or a December 31 and compare it to the previous year, see if it's continued to build at that point. Looking at April doesn't mean a whole lot. It's year end or fiscal year end or calendar year end are better times to kind of look at that and evaluate. We could potentially do that in the future if we needed to, but we also know we have a lot of projects and some other items that we might be spending out of operations sooner than later.
Is 1.7 million generally the rainy day typically where we've been on?
Yeah, we have not receipted anything in rainy day, at least in the last 3 years. I'd have to go back and see when the last time we actually did. We did have a temporary expenditure from rainy day a few years ago to get our food service when we were still feeding students until we received a big chunk of revenue there. Then we put it back in, we replaced it. That's the only receipt for expenditure that we've had in rainy day in the last 3 years. It wouldn't be bad for it to be a little bit higher, you know, it'd be great if we were right around the 2-month operating 16 and 2/3% between rainy day and education, but we are heading that direction right now.
Thank you for that report. Next up is the discussion of the recommendation to move from New Avenues Employee Assistance Program to Crosswinds Corporate Counseling Program. And this is Ms. Erickson.
Thank you. Basically what an EAP does is they're a confidential counseling service. So the district pays the fee to the provider and then employees can go for free to have their counseling visits. Currently they get 3 free visits with New Avenues and they can go in for things like financial issues, stress issues, marital problems, you name it. Anything you would see a counselor for, you would go to them. And in looking at this, I think New Avenues does a fine job, but I think there's room for improvement. So I started looking around, I looked at a couple different options, and the one that I feel like would better serve the district would be the Crosswinds Corporate Counseling Services, for several reasons. One is cost. Right now, the way they do it at New Avenues is they set an amount per employee that we pay every month, regardless of the usage. Whereas at Crosswinds, you put money basically in the bank and then they draw down for that based upon usage. So had we had Crosswinds last couple of years, we would have saved significant amounts of money. Right now, we're paying for services that we're not receiving. My hope is with Crosswinds that we'll have more employees take advantage of it. They're local, people are aware of them, they're in our schools already, working with our students. So I think they'll be more visible to us, and that's what they talked about, that they want to reach our employees and communicate with them so that they know that they're available, so they can reach out and use them. So I put the cost in here, and I put what I think the savings would be, but basically they would request either 5,000 or 10,000, and I haven't talked to Mark about this yet, but we put a certain amount in, and then we just draw down from that based upon the usage. Now to leave New Avenues, it's a 90-day period. I'd have to write them if you would agree to this and say we're terminating the contract. Then at that time we would make that move over to Crosswinds. So, any questions?
Just on a personal note, I think the Terrell family is terrific. Everybody that knows Colleen and Mark, great Southwest family. I'm sure they take great care of us.
And she's been great to work with, and she would be the primary contact for me and communicating with the employees. She's the one that would do that.
Thank you for taking the initiative to find a better program for us. All right, that's a discussion item, and we will bring it back at the next meeting. Next up is the discussion of the recommendation of resolution for submission of 1003 waiver application for e-learning days. Dr. Ginner.
Thank you. In your packet, you'll see a draft resolution to allow myself to apply for a waiver toward our virtual instruction days. House Bill 1093 changed the parameters within which schools can use e-learning days. We have been working with the IDOE there to come out with better directions and rules on the 20th, although we pretty much at this point have a solid understanding of where everything is going. The 1003 waiver, if applied for, would allow us to, before we have e-learning days, apply for like e-learning flex days, which we would use for professional development. We could also apply for days which were used specifically at the high school for SAT and PSAT testing when we have some of the kids go home and then some of the students stay. Part of the law change in House Bill 1093 disallows us to use more than 3 asynchronous days for weather days. Because we are a performance qualified school corporation, we have enough minutes in our calendar to apply minutes towards those snow days or weather days where we should have enough fat, especially if we are approved for the 103 waiver, to, barring Snowmageddon, we should have enough days in hand to continue with e-learning days. And so my request is related to all of that House Bill 1093 to allow us a little bit more flexibility to plan in some days that wouldn't cost us some of those other synchronous days that we'd be allowed to have. Because the bill allows, or the law allows for us to have synchronous e-learning days as long as 50% of the day is spent synchronously. So you can have half the day not. And so that's the rulemaking process that we've been involved with the DOE, trying to determine what that looks like. Long story.
Question? I had forgotten about snow completely until you brought that up. So we will bring that back at the next meeting. Next item is the discussion of the recommendation to contract with Winston Terrell Group for consulting services related to the upcoming referendum. And this is Dr. Gindman.
As we have not yet determined a date for our referendum, this is before the board as a discussion item. I have spent some time talking with Mr. Winston and Mr. Terrell. They are considered Indiana's premier consultant for referendum services. They have provided, as you see in your packet, a number of details about our district, but they're able to provide communication platforms and the ability to work in our community in a manner that nobody else really is. Being able to contact people digitally and electronically rather than by mail. And they also are very successful at helping districts plan for a referendum. So that's where the question comes.
Yeah, this is something we got to get right. And it's something we do every 7 years. It's not something that we're experienced at. So we need some help with this. We will bring this back at the next meeting. Next item is an action item. It is the recommendation of the approval of notice to bidders for the 2022 obsolete devices, HP laptops. Mr. Chase.
Thank you. Last meeting, I came to you to prepare us to go to bid to remove our HP laptops we've been using at the middle school level for the last 4 years. So tonight I need to take action, so we can go to bid. So we can get vendors to bid on our equipment and hopefully get some money out of those laptops. Questions?
Actually, we have a recommendation. Is there a motion? Mr. Gilpin, Mr. Copley. Discussion, questions? Appreciate you being awful thorough on this. Let's vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The last item on the agenda is the recommendation of the approval to change the dean position to an assistant principal position at Summit Middle School. This is an action item with Ms. Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. We discussed this last week, the recommendation to move the dean away from a 3-year temporary rotating position to a full administrative position as an assistant principal. So that therefore, Summit would have 2 assistant principals similar to Woodside, similar with other middle schools in the area. And the current incumbent, who's the dean, would be Jason Cordes, so he would be the one moving into the assistant principal position. And one of his duties will be the oversight for that alternative school, for the middle school as well. And we would suggest making this change July 1st when all the administrative contracts are being distributed. So Dr. St. John and I recommend that we make this move to an assistant principal position.
We have a recommendation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Couch? Mr. Copley? Discussion? This was, that former position was made as like a developmental kind of thing. Do you have anything on the horizon for a developmental?
We do not. This was the one that we used, that we had some that went through this position and they did become administrators. Megan Culberson was one of those. We've had some that did this for 3 years, then they went back to a teaching position. But, yeah, this would take away that for now. Or maybe down the road, we may decide to do that again. But for now, we want to make sure that we make this a permanent position for Summit.
Or maybe a helper for Dr. Ginder or something like that. So, any other discussion? Let's vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Are there any final comments from the board this evening?
Thanks to everybody for coming out. Good to see everybody again.
We appreciate the turnout. Thank you. No other business? Where?